You tell me who I am.
They called you West.
Jim West.
Mr. West.
West!
Well, my name is James West.
A truly great man.
Brilliant.
Secret Service agent.
What's next? Come on, I'm waiting.
Man of action. He's James West.
Where's Jim West?
On the Wild Wild West. Weekdays at 4, 3 Central on MeTV.
Hello, I'm John Malos, and welcome to Connect with Me, live on the showroom floor here at Ventura TV. And today is the Wild Wild West Day. There's no question about it. Today, we're going to be talking about training horses, and we're going to take you out to a facility that's right here in the Central Valley. In fact, it's just a few miles down the street from us. It's called the Rick Kelley Performance Horses Center. That's where you train horses, you train people how to ride them. Rick is in our studio. We got phone calls. We're going to take them. 265-4331. We're back in a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
It is the world of sports on this day, but we're talking about the Wild West right here in the Central Valley. Of course, we're talking about horses, quarter horses, and training people how to ride them. You know, I was looking at the price of a gallon of gas this morning. It's over $4 a gallon. $4 a gallon. Forget about your Prius. Buy a horse and ride that to work, or walk. Take a bicycle. Like George Hofstetter, he walks everywhere. Walk. It's good exercise. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a beautiful facility. Let's take you to the aerial shot. Hey, this is what it looks like from the Goodyear blimp. No, just kidding. That is not the blimp shot, but it's an aerial view, 10 acres, 3 miles east of Old Town Clovis. Rick Kelley Performance Horses. This is where you take your horse or horses and have them trained. What a beautiful facility right there. Let's go to the videotape and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can also go there to learn how to ride a horse. They can train you how to compete in shows up and down the Central Valley, up and down the state of California, including around the nation and around the world. Rick Kelley is the owner. He's one of 130. Did you hear that? One of 130 AQHA professional horsemen around the country. We'll ask him what that means. Also, on the Pacific Quarter Horse Association, he's been in business since 1987. He's got training barns. He has horse parties. He has Horse Safe Kids summer camp. He has field trips for school children. There's a child right there riding a horse very slowly and very safely. They teach kids how to do all of this. And they also have a program that's good for therapy and rehab patients. It's an amazing, amazing facility out there. 10 acres, as I said, there it is right there. And live in our studio right now is Rick Kelley, the owner of Rick Kelley Performance Horses. Out there, you can train horses. You can take lessons. They've got boarding facilities, they've got clinics, they've got seminars, they've got the whole 9 yards. So if you're thinking about buying a horse, you want to learn how to ride that horse, and maybe you need that horse trained, call Rick Kelley. We'll tell you how to get a hold of him. You can call in the program. It's 265-4331. That's our number. We have a phone line that is totally open right now. It's the world of sports, the Wild Wild West, here on a Wednesday on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
It's the Wild, Wild West here on the show this morning here on Connect With Me. And my pleasure to welcome in Rick Kelley. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good. Did you come in on your horse?
I did, yeah. Through the rain and through the trails, yes, absolutely.
Better than spending $4 a gallon on gas.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing. Hey, we've got a phone call right off the bat. Why don't we just take it and see who it is? Good morning. You're on Connect With Me with Rick Kelley. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. I have a question for Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Has he heard about the situation with the wild Mustangs in Reno, Nevada?
The issue with the Reno, Nevada, it actually, I believe, goes to the state of Nevada. And probably the biggest issue, they do have land, especially around Las Vegas and other areas, that are protected for the wild horses. They have tried different adoption policies with those. The problem with the adoption policies would be that a lot of people that may not have the knowledge or the wherewithal to handle these horses have become turned back out illegally again because they can't handle them. Wild horse, you probably, if you're looking at something, should go to more of a domesticated animal more so than a wild Mustang.
Who is qualified to handle a wild horse or horses?
To me, it's when you get into the horses, you're going into an equitable position. You're better off probably finding a professional in your area to help guide you into what you should purchase.
Professional meaning?
A professional trainer, that has accreditations, somebody that can maybe match the horse with the rider, the horse with the family. It's a disaster to go for a wild Mustang to a 6-year-old little girl. You're not. That's not going to happen.
Wild Mustangs? But my sister lives in Nevada, and she can go feed them with carrots and apples and whatever, but they just won't let them pet them,
Mm-hmm.
You can feed it. She'll get that close to them.
That's great. Feeding them and riding them are two different things.
So they're used to people. They're even walking around in the middle of town sometimes.
Yeah, what you're saying is you don't want to hop on a wild horse. You can feed it, but there's a big difference between feeding it and hopping on a horse and trying to ride it.
Correct, and a lot of people feed bears in national parks too, and then all of a sudden when they get mauled, all of a sudden it's the bear's fault. So I would be very cautious of what you did.
Or does Fresno, I have a society here that takes care of horses that people can't take care of, or they're running wild or whatever.
Do we have a facility? Is that what you're asking?
Here in Fresno.
Did you? I didn't understand what she'd said.
What's that now?
You read about it in the news where people can't take care of these horses. Where do they go besides the SPCA? Is there a society here that takes care of these horses?
Not that we were actually talking about that earlier. Not that I'm aware of. The problem that you have with people that cannot maybe afford the animal, or from what people consider are abusive at that point in time, the cost efficiency of having another facility, you're probably looking at $200 per horse per month. That becomes pretty absorbent as far as somebody else having to cost.
It becomes a burden, in other words.
An absolute burden, yeah. And being that, unfortunately, there are other trucking situations, we don't have the different markets to take some of these horses to, so it does become a burden. But I'm not aware.
At that point, you got to put them down.
A lot of times they're euthanized, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. Thank you for the.
Aware before they start buying a horse or taking care of one.
Yes, we agree. Absolutely.
That's right. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it very much.
Beautiful business, sir, and continue great success.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Great phone call. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate the call. So let's turn to the monitor here real quick, and we'll take a look at some video that you actually brought in, Rick, for our program today. And what does it take to know horses? You just know horses, or do you have to have a knack for it, or what?
It's like anything else going into an education. This is actually one of my clients showing in Las Vegas. She has qualified for the world numerous times. She would be what we would consider a world-class rider. She actually is on the Fresno State Equestrian team also.
What is she doing right here?
This right here is one event that we do, which is called Trail, and it is judged on the rider's ability and the horse's ability to go through certain maneuvers. Every time that horse would touch a pole, hit a pole with his feet, that would be a deduction, a point. So basically they have to go through these different patterns and not be able to touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
how do you train a horse to do what you want it to do? I know that's a very simplistic question, and it's very complex. Can you make it simple for us?
Well, the thing is everything's education. For me, when
Okay.
I started in the horse business, I worked for the very top professionals for probably 6 or 7 years before
Right.
I went out on my own. There's probably 4 to 5 trainers in California that has our program that we do. It starts from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old. This horse here, in a bridle, you have to understand the transitional period of horses going from a snaffle to a hackamore, which would go around their nose, into a bridle, into what we would consider an aged horse. So you're looking at 4 or 5 years to produce a horse like this.
And
so
do you have to start them young, or can you start it with a horse that's 4 or 5 years old already?
it's easier to start a horse when they're younger. It's easier to start a horse when they're younger, due to the fact that they are more impressionable when they're younger. We consider a horse at
like a
full
kid.
grown. Exactly. So
Same
would
thing.
you rather have a kid start school when they're 10 or start school when they're in preschool? We can they're more impressionable when they're in preschool. Hopefully we can guide them on the right direction, not create the bad habits, things like that.
Do the horses understand better than we think they do?
You know, a horse, they consider what they call a fright and flight animal. A horse reacts. They don't respond to common sense, to be honest with you.
How long does it take before a horse responds to any kind of a command? Does it depend on the horse?
It depends on the horse. It depends on what type of program that you're putting them into. When you talk about training a horse, you have groundwork, then you have the beginning basics. As you increase their training, then they're going to learn more tricks. When they learn more tricks, they're more valuable.
So as long as you take common sense out of the equation and understand that the horse does not have common sense like most of us do.
Correct.
What's your main focus once you take that out of the equation?
Well, the horse, how pretty much when we do our clinics and we do our seminars, is a horse learns from pressure and release. You put pressure on them, whether it's turning them to the left or to the right, whatever the basic is. When they give in, then you release. So through repetition of doing it over and over and over, then they will start at that point in time learning more and more and more.
So they understand repetition.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We're talking to Rick Kelley of Rick Kelley Performance Horses in Clovis. He's been there since 1987. You got a horse that needs training or whatever, a little small horse, you know, a young horse, young pony or a quarter horse or whatever, and you want to learn to ride yourself as well. You can call Rick at what number, Rick?
559-917-2266.
All right. We're going to be back with more of Connect With Me, including your phone calls at a different number, 265-4331. We're back in just a moment.
I love playing cowboy.
Come on, let's go.
I'm an old cowhand from the big old ranch, and my legs ain't
If you're looking for a fight, you're gonna find it.
Say, you reckon this thing is loaded?
You know, I'm curious, Rick, is it easier to train horses or to train people?
It's a lot easier to train people because we can control their environment a lot more. Yeah,
In most cases?
they can go to the timeout zone a lot more than we can send the adults. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Just curious. Now, I mentioned at the top of the program that you're one of 130 AQHA professional horsemen around the country. What does that mean? To me, the layman, it means nothing, but to you, it's a very unique and very classy accreditation. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically what that is that we, as a quarter horse member and a quarter horse exhibitor participant in a professional situation, they came up. You have to apply. You have to be approved, and it's something that now we take very seriously in different aspects of trying to regulate the humane treatment of animals.
Does that mean you're licensed? Or?
To a point we're licensed. We can be a steward if there is a situation at a horse show, a situation in the valley that quarter horse feels that they need some representation on. We can be sent, such as going to some of the animal abuse issues or doing clinics. Really, it's there to try to promote the safe, healthy training methods and competition
It basically means that you know what you're doing.
I hope after 25 years.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
pretty much like having a license to do anything.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Good morning. You're on Connect With Me. How are you?
Yes. I'm wondering
when does the Clovis Rodeo start? Can you tell me?
That would be the last weekend in April.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
last weekend in April. That's coming up. And what's your involvement there?
You know, I really don't have an involvement anymore with the Rodeo Association, but our business is a little bit separate. I can tell you they do a tremendous job putting on a great event now. I think it's 4 days, a lot of entertainment. It produces a ton of money for the Clovis community. So to go out and look at some very nice animals and enjoy, have a family atmosphere.
What's the purpose of the rodeo?
Well, you know, the rodeo actually started back in the vaquero days in dealing with the big ranches. And one ranch would have go against another ranch. It was competition. Who had the better cowboys? Who had the better vaqueros? Who had the better livestock? And so they started with different events that really go back into the old vaquero days of your roping and your breaking of horses and you know, how horses were your broke to handle cattle, different things like that. So it really, it's got a lot more of a history than just a lot of guys getting bucked off and stuff like that.
Want to turn to the monitor one more time, look at some videotape. So is your business a lucrative business now? We know that the economy has taken a downturn since 2008. We're in a recession. What's it like economically
you
for
know,
you?
we have been extremely fortunate, but we're very diversified. It is obviously a lucrative business to, you know, to certain people. I think that what you had said, it has to be a business. It cannot be a hobby. There's a lot of people that get involved as a hobby, and they will lose a lot of money. For us,
so what do you charge to train a horse or a person?
Our program, we have different boarding rates, meaning that where the horses are kept in a pasture, in a dry stall, in a wet stall, ranging from $200 to $450 just to maintain the horse. Per horse. Training
per day, per month?
Per month.
Okay.
Training usually is anywhere from $400 to $450 per month. However, there are lesson packages. Maybe the horse does not need to be in a full-time training program. It can be in a half-time training, or people can board a horse and maybe take one lesson a week.
What are we looking at here?
This event here is what is called Showmanship. This is actually in Rancho Marietta. In fact, this here is
That's
Showmanship.
That's near Sacramento.
Correct. This right here is actually at the World Show in Oklahoma City. And this is how the rider is judged, actually the handler, how the horse and the handler go through the different maneuvers of showing the horse. This would be what we would call part of a halter class, but this is actually the Showmanship event.
Right. Now, you've been involved in horses. We'll turn you back around here, Rick. And you've been involved in horses, what, since you were a kid, probably?
Not actually. You know, it's kind of a really funny story. I had played baseball all my life, went to McLean, played a little bit in college, had gotten hurt, and I went to work for a gentleman. And
what happened there?
You know, it came very easy. I think I was looking for still that competitive nature, and one thing led to another. He was retiring at that point in time.
So you learned from him.
Yeah, and I have had different mentors throughout my life. Still now, I think that if you tell yourself that you know everything, you're not going to, you know, change with the times, things like that. So we consider our program very modern. You know, there's certain things we have to change. I don't like to get beat. So when I do get beat, I usually go out and find out why, you know, and if we have to learn new things. Everything changes.
Right. And so at your facility, you've got 10 acres. You started small, I assume, and built it up?
Yeah, we bought the facility in 1998. And over the last, you know, 12, 15 years, I had leased facilities prior to that in order to, you know, try to financially be capable to purchase
What do you
something.
have on the grounds, physically on the grounds, that you can explain to us?
We have a pretty diversified program now. Claudia and myself, we have a party barn that we do different special events, birthday parties, fundraisers. We have a petting zoo there. We obviously, our main focus in our business is the performance training aspect. We have the
That's your main business?
Correct. We have the capabilities to board and house 60 horses. We maintain usually a pretty full, you know, thing. People come in, people come out. We're fortunate to be endorsed by 4 major products.
How many horses do you have now at your facility?
We probably are right about 50, 51, 52 right now.
So you're not quite at the capacity.
At max, correct. We have a few stalls open.
Yeah, you have a few stalls. And who's buying these horses now? I mean, who can afford these horses now?
You know, the prices range. A family horse is maybe $3,500. They just want to board it, come out and ride. To performance horses, that can be several $100,000. So it all depends on what level they want to compete. And I tell them it's like a race car. You can go ride in a little go-kart, and then you can go the next level to Madeira. Then you go to the super modifieds, you can go to NASCAR, you can go to Indy. So it really depends on what the people feel that their level of competition that they want to engulf themselves in, and where they want to go is going to depend on what the horse is.
Okay, we're talking to Rick Kelley Performance Horses in Clovis. It's about 3 miles east of Clovis, there close to the mountains, and you want to get out there and train a horse, learn how to ride, or take your kids out there. I'm sure that he would welcome that. And you know, Rick has trained even some of the biggest Hollywood stars. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break in just a moment.
Is taking care of laundry taking too much of your time? Have you become a missing mom? With a new, fast, efficient washer and dryer from Ventura TV Video Appliance, you'll spend more of your day the way you want.
This Amana Super Capacity Washer Dryer Pair is now just $6.99, and this heavy-duty Maytag Super Capacity Washer Dryer Pair is only $8.99.
Don't spend your life on laundry. Upgrade today at Ventura TV Video Appliance and save.
All right, our telephone number here is 265-4331 if you want to talk to Rick Kelley. So what Hollywood stars have you rubbed elbows with?
You know, I've been very fortunate in our life. We've had Sally Field, Kiefer Sutherland, sold a horse to George Strait. I've helped William Shatner pretty extensively. A lot of your sports athletes, I've had a lot of the Fresno athletes. Gosh, my mind just went blank. Trent Dilfer with Cassandra, his wife, and John Malos when they were there. Joe Montana, John Taylor. Joe Montana, big supporter of the horse industry. Lyle Lovett, big supporter of the horse industry.
Yeah.
Different people like that.
Yeah, you helped William Shatner for many years.
Yeah, several years. Yeah. That was an experience, and he, very, very nice man. Sometimes I think unfortunate that he can't go to anywhere without being mobbed. So he's a very private person, but
yeah, I know.
Talks
for
the
obvious
same.
reasons.
Yeah, when you talk to him, he sounds like Captain Kirk.
All right, Captain. Let's take a call here. Okay. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me with Rick Kelley.
Oh, great. I have two questions for your guest, Rick. If number one, I don't understand what this dressage is. Maybe you can explain that. And the second part of my question is, I just recently looked at that horse whisperer documentary about Buck. I forget his name. And could you explain? Does this really happen? Is this based in reality? So, two questions for your guest.
First question: dressage actually is an English event, and dressage has to do. There's I think 5 different levels of dressage.
What is it?
English dressage is basically a lot of what we do in our business. Obviously, there's a different type of dress code. They're the English, more of the equestrian type,
so
or
how you
Western.
Dress the horse? Or the
no,
person?
it's both. The horse it actually does English events where we do Western-based events at the different levels of dressage, which actually is very, very beautiful to watch when they get to the higher level. It's really the complete control of the rider to manipulate the horse to do a lot of different maneuvers geometrically. Fundamentally with their body, pushing their hips over, their rib cage over, flexation in their face. So, but there are a lot of different levels, and just like in our business in the Western, we cover showmanship, halter, Western horsemanship, trail, roping, reining, working cow horse. Whereas in the English world, we were going to deal with dressage, stadium jumping, hunter under saddle, hunter hack, a lot of different things like that. So it's really what the preferences of the person.
Yeah. Turn to the monitor one more time here and take a look at your daughter, Julian, and tell us how old she is.
At this time, she was 10 years old.
Okay.
This also is one of the showmanship events, such as the one that was at the World Show with the other gal.
Boy, she looks like a pro there.
Yeah, she thinks she's a pro. Yeah, sometimes.
What do you mean by that? Isn't she?
She pretty much runs the ranch. Yeah, she would be more than welcome to give you a guided tour. And
you mean you have to answer to her?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Don't we all answer to the women in our lives? You know.
That's for another show there.
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
we don't want to get into that right now. But anyway, what are we looking at here?
This was actually just a local show. We were trying to find some tape for you at the rodeo grounds here in Clovis. And this is just an event, what we call the pleasure event, where they're actually judged how they handle the horse, how the horse goes around in what we would call the most amount of performance with the least amount of effort.
Yeah, and since we're looking at kids here, including your daughter, who's only, what, she's 11 now, what about the Horse Save Kids Summer Camp? Explain what that is.
You know, that's a program that Claudia put together, and we felt that a lot of the camps that people go to have too many children in it. It's a very small situation. There's usually only 3 or 4 kids. Goes through a lot of your basic safety, brushing, grooming, catching, how to catch them properly, tie them properly, to the very basics of horsemanship, such as if you wanted to purchase a horse, at least you would have some type of knowledge if you wanted to take it at your house.
Yeah, and you want to take it a step further. You teach them the basics of riding.
Correct, and then we can go, exactly, then we can go from that to the different levels and continue their education.
All right, so another phone call here. Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. What's your question, quickly?
Well, I just wanted to comment that when you asked him about the dressage,
yeah,
one of the things I experienced when I was starting to learn it was it helped me teach my Western riding horses to be a little more balanced and a lot more athletic, because the moves were more subtle, and it gave the horse a little bit more warning than just jerking on them.
Well, I think that I would take offense to the aspect of jerking on one. I think that the dressage does give you a little bit more body control, but if you go to a professional that actually knows what he's doing in the Western part, we're going to probably have as much body control as what the dressage horse would have.
Well, yes, true. If the horse is brought along slowly from a young age, I agree with you very much. But I just wanted to make the comment that if you add a little dressage technique to the rest of your riding, it can help the horse balance, and you can feel the increase in their athleticism.
Okay. I appreciate the phone call. It's very nice of you to call in. Thank you for that great phone call. I want to go through these photos really quick because we're almost out of time. We're going to look up there on the monitor, Rick. Go ahead, Ara, put them up because we've got about 5 before we close out the show here. All right, what are we looking at here?
That horse right there was a horse that I showed back in 2002 for a family called the Landskroners, and we won the West Coast Reining Fraternity horse on that horse. That is one event that we have, which is called the reining. That's actually the win picture of that same horse. In fact, the little boy in the yellow was my son. Now he's 18. This is actually a horse that we took to the 2011 World Show. The lady that shows him and the gentleman actually own him. She was a finalist in the world. This is also a horse that we won the PCQHA Fall Classic with, I believe in 2008. This was a picture of the different clients that we have, different ages of the success that they achieved at the show, at the Fall Classic, and obviously some of our sponsors, put the signs in there.
Pretty amazing. Let me ask you before we run out of time here about animal abuse, horse abuse. We've seen that in the news, and we'll do another show about this, but we've seen it in the news the last couple of years or so. What happens, I mean, how does it get to a point where people just let their horses starve to death? And we've seen that over and over again here in the Central Valley.
Well, I think it basically revolves around the economic structure. We've probably been in one of the worst depressions, recessions. The families go out, they buy a house in the country. The house is worth $300,000, then it's supposed to be worth $1 million. Then all of a sudden it drops down to $200,000, and unfortunately, maintaining a horse properly, even if it's at your house, the farrier, shoeing, vaccinations, etc., you're probably $150 a horse. Well, you're going to feed your family first.
A day?
A month.
A month, okay.
A month. So if you have 3 horses, you're at $450 a month. If you can't afford to pay your PG&E, you're probably going to pay your PG&E before you...
And you're going to pay your mortgage before you feed the horse.
And at that point in time, it's a snowball running downhill. There's going to be a crash at the end. Unfortunately, we don't have existing facilities that are funded to maintain these horses, to have somebody give them back. So,
Phone number one more time real quick before you go.
559-917-2266.
We'd like to bring you back to talk more extensively about the animal abuse and the horse starvation, because we've seen that over the course of time. Would you come back and talk about that?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
All right, Rick. Good to see you.
All right. Thank you.
I love the hat, by the way. You got one of my size?
I do. Yeah, I'll get you one.
Okay. All right. Rick Kelley of Rick Kelley Performance Horses in Clovis, about 3 miles east of Old Town. Tomorrow, the housing market. Is it coming back, or are we still still in a recession. We'll have an expert in our studio then. Have a great day. See you back tomorrow.
Look at that. Isn't that a great layout? You son of a gun.
This campaign is no good.
No good!
Darren and Larry, the original Mad Men on Bewitched.